Hey guys, have you ever felt like you have found the perfect trading strategy only to have it evaporate into just another broken promise from a trading guru who was advertising and without a proven plan? And it makes me want to ask, is the holy grail of trading just a myth, or could there be some secret we haven't discovered yet about the Holy Grail, kind of like this guy here?
You must choose. But choose wisely. For as the true grail will bring you life, the false grail will take it from you.
Oh, was that spooky or what? Will the false grail, will the true grail will bring you life, but the false grail will bring you the other thing. So, hey, traders, I just want to welcome everybody back to another exciting episode of the Trading Truths podcast. And today, Mike Lamothe and I are going to be embarking on a unique journey. We thought we were going to actually have the Holy Grail on here live, but unfortunately, he did. We think he may have showed up, but we're not sure. But we did have him answer a lot of questions for us, and so we are going to basically go through that interview of this legendary, the Holy Grail. So, what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, Dennis, I think that I think that we're going to have a great discussion here on the Holy Grail, but I think that there's going to be this big twist. And the twist is that, is there really a Holy Grail? Or is it just a myth that's leading to a lot of traders to go astray? So let's find out. Let's find out together. Let's hop on in and get this show on the road.
Okay. Well, what is your thoughts about that? I was really struggling this past weekend, kind of going through that concept of the Holy Grail. Is there a Holy Grail? Isn't there a Holy Grail? And I kind of like what the knight just had to say. He goes, choose wisely, because the real one will bring you life. However, the false one will bring you the opposite. So what's your thoughts on that? Is there a Holy Grail or not a Holy Grail?
Well, I think that the Holy Grail for trading is not what people probably think that it is. Okay. I think that I've been thinking quite a bit about this one too. It actually reminded me of a question that came up last week about what the most important trait for trading is. Trader Lion had posted this midweek. I actually wrote a blog post about it that's going to go live in a little bit. And when you really think about what the most important traits are, it's not fundamental analysis. It's not technical analysis. At least these are the conclusions that I came to. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But I think that the traits for successful trading are the universal traits, things like humility. Like you hear about pride so often. Get that out of the more that we could get pride out of our heads, the better. But humility. If we're humble, then we're coachable. If we're humble, then we do what's necessary. We stick to the plan. We don't think that we're better than the plan, or should be calling audibles mid-game. I think that humility is one of the most important traits of successful traders, at least the people that I've met. I've yet to meet somebody that hasn't been humble.
I mean, it's kind of like you are either humble or you're going to be humbled.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, but yeah, so I'd be interested in anybody online, just let us know what their thoughts about the Holy Grail is. But the Holy Grail, the essence of the Holy Grail, if we just go a strict definition, it's basically the Holy Grail is a trading of trading refers to an ideal strategy that consists of generating successful trades and profits with minimal risk. The concept captivates the traders because, one, they think it's going to be easy. In other words, they don't have to apply themselves very much. And what I find in working with other traders, Mike, is that as soon as not with everyone, because man, there's some guys who are just absolutely rock solid in their dedication and their discipline to learning and their humility to say, hey, I need to learn this. But then there are a few who just jump, what do we call them? System jumpers or something like that. I know you had
system hoppers.
System hoppers, yeah. They basically, as soon as it becomes evident that they're going to have to apply themselves, they bail. They bail because that wasn't what they thought. It basically gets back to a false belief that trading's got to be so simple, so easy, and that all I can do is find this one single thing that'll work, and then I can just stick with that, in all market conditions and all that kind of stuff. But that belief leads people to, I think, crash into the wall, and sometimes the crash is fatal. And so,
yeah, I think so.
What are some of the other kind of common, what do you think some of the other common myths associated with that of the Holy Grail?
When I think of the Holy Grail of trading, I actually didn't think of something that like, oh, well, this is easy. But I guess when people, I think that there's this element of finding perfection. And perhaps part of the perfection of it is that if it's not easy now, it will get easy. And perhaps some people's version of the Holy Grail is that it'll be perfect, that I won't lose. Or something else would be like, well, I'll have certain returns, or I'll have consistent returns. Whatever their ideal notion of perfection is, that this thing is going to necessarily work all the time. And then that goes, let's go down that rabbit hole. What does it mean to work all the time?
Yeah.
Does it mean that it's like a washing machine? Like you just, you pull the button and it just keeps on turning no matter what time of day? I think that you can have a system that works all the time. I think that the system will tell you when to plant, right? So does farming work all the time? Well, sure. If you know how to do it, then you know what the appropriate time to plant is, you know what the appropriate time to harvest is, and how to care. It does not mean that you plant in the winter.
Yeah.
It does not mean, right? So I think that if we take the Holy Grail at surface level, I think that that's partially where some of the problems come in.
Yeah, you guys. Hey, just in case we're it looks like we're having a little bit of internet connection issues. I don't know if you've seen on your side, Mike, but if we are still recording, and this will be up later on to be watched over on the YouTube channels and also Spotify. So don't forget about that. But Mike, coming back to what you're talking about, that aspect of planting. Often, I think it's a great analogy in that, you sow the seeds. And then it's kind of like sowing the seeds is when you start the educational program or process with learning how to trade, right?
Sure.
And then you go into water, and normally, what's the normal process? This is a natural process. You go water the seeds, you fertilize the seeds, you basically then sit patiently as you're letting for the seeds to grow, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Unfortunately, the personality of the person who is susceptible to chasing the Holy Grail they're always going up and digging up their seeds before they have a chance to grow.
Right, right.
So in other words, every season they ruin their own crop.
So that person's the one that walks into that room with all the grails and like choose wisely. And he's just like, yeah, all right, I'll try this one and I'll try that one. How's this one taste?
Yeah.
And they
You know,
fall
well,
over and die because they picked the wrong one.
and you know what's really funny is if you remember that video, that movie, that was the Last Crusade. I think my son might be online and he can tell us, was that the Last Crusade from Indiana Jones? Is the actual Holy Grail that he picked up was the most lowly, humble looking cup amongst all of those that had all the diamonds and the shiny, and so anybody who was basically hooked up with the concept, who would be basically attracted to the shiny object syndrome, they would have always chosen the wrong cup. And guess what? The wrong cup would have resulted in their death. And I think that is so. I mean, that's a beautiful analogy, I think, for our trading community, is that because of whatever reason why you're chasing the Holy Grail, you're always choosing the wrong cup, and it leads to your death as a trader. I mean, it kills your trading. So, wow, that's
Well,
heavy,
the
man.
Holy Grail really is humility. Drink from the cup of humility and you'll be okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, they talk about what's the 7 deadly sins, right? 7 deadly sins. One of the big ones, pride, right? Pride, lust.
That's the worst one.
Yeah, that's the worst one. And it's so funny though. It's the one that I think so oftentimes keeps people in the search for the Holy Grail. So hey, but we did, Mike. We did ask the Holy Grail some questions. And I think that maybe we want to kind of jump into that. And again, if you're online, and tiling in, what if you were sitting face to face with the Holy Grail? What questions would you ask him or her that you would like to say, hey, well, why am I doing? But the first question, I'm gonna ask Mike the first question, and I'm gonna let Mike for this one. I'm gonna let Mike answer as how he thinks that the Holy Grail would answer. So let's go with, okay, Mr. Holy Grail. Why do so many traders believe in your existence despite repeated failures?
Well, traders are naturally drawn to the idea of easy success and often underestimate the complexity of the markets. The promise of a foolproof strategy is tempting, but ultimately an illusion.
So would you consider, so I'm sitting there, Mike, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, like the real pain points is this impacts is, unrealistic expectations, repeated disappointments, financial loss, emotional stress, and that just really wipes you out. But I'm thinking that in reality, I think there's a false Holy Grail of trading. In other words, a lie that people believe. But then I do think that there is an actual Holy Grail of trading that we're going to actually, when we get down to the end of the discussion, because I've already looked at the rest of what the Holy Grail had to say to us, and we're going to find out what the real, true, legitimate Holy Grail has to say about where the Holy Grail of trading is. But you got to hang on to that, because we're going to get to that shortly.
I'm looking forward to it.
So, okay, the next question from the Holy Grail is, okay, how do emotions like fear, greed play into the continuous search for you?
Oh, fear and greed are powerful motivators that often lead traders away from rational decision making. These emotions drive the desire for a perfect strategy that eliminates risks and maximizes profit.
Hmm. So basically, so fear and greed, powerful motivators. Did you know that there's, and I'll throw this out because I've been reading a really great book. It's called Think and Grow Rich. Have you read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon
Of course.
Hill? It is an
Yeah,
awesome
classic.
book. It is a fantastic book. The 13 tenets that he talks about for Think and Grow Rich are amazing. And if you're a trader and you haven't read it, I encourage you, go read it. I mean, go find it. You can get it for free at Amazon and get an ebook. Um, but it is so powerful because he throws in one other thing. He goes, there's fear, there's greed, as far as the big emotions, but then there's also the emotion of, and I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole too far, but there's also
Hmm.
the emotion of sex. And he talks about having a properly directed sex drive, not into the, not like the opening ceremonies of the Olympics in
Oh, jeez.
in Paris, right? I mean, let's,
Oh,
yeah,
that.
what a debauchery. Anyway, but the knowing that, yeah, we are sexual creatures, but rather than pointing that sex drive towards illicit affairs and immorality, is you can channel that energy into hyper supernatural focus on the challenges of trading, developing your trading, all that kind of stuff. So I just throw that out as a little bit of, a little bit of extra stuff there on that Holy Grail thing. So I should change that and just the answer making fear, greed, and sex.
Yeah. Well, that makes for the good clip later on.
And so, but yeah, and that impacts and hits the pain points of the impulsive trading,
Hmm.
significant losses, inconsistent performance, and lack of discipline. And I know that when I first got started, the first 10 years of my trading were just absolutely terrible because I was so impulsive and compulsive. I was that trader who was not humble, thinking that I was this red hot, former Navy jet pilot, super duper engineer, all that kind of stuff, always successful in everything I had done. And that set me up to be impulsive, compulsive. I'd go, I don't need no stinking rules. Yeah, I've got a trading plan and it's perfect, which in fact, my trading plan was really, really good. My issue was I wouldn't follow it.
Mm.
Did that ever impact you like that?
Well, somewhat, but in a slightly different way. So when I first started out, I got burned by listening to the pros and money managers and letting them take care of it for me. And then after getting burned from there, I was just like, you know what? I'm going the lone wolf route.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm just going to do everything on my own. I'm going to study on my own. I'm going to manage my own money. And because I wouldn't trust anybody, and I went that lone wolf route, that got me into trouble for years and years, and basically no progress at all, or no progress in the equity curve for 10 years.
Mm.
For 10 years, I struggled. And then it was just by the grace of God that I was introduced to William O'Neill and IBD meetups, and then got other people around me. And then, once I had other people around me, that's when I was finally able to make some steady progress, and have been making progress ever since.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I think that one of the things that you mentioned there is getting people around you. The secret in what happened for you, if I understand correctly, It wasn't just getting people around you, but it was getting the right kind of people around you. You know,
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. You have the wrong people around you, and you're basically like you ever see like a bucket of crabs?
a bucket of crabs. Yes, I have up in Maine.
Yeah, and like they'll put the like so long as there's a couple in there, they don't worry about them crawling out
Right.
because they'll each pull each other back down into the
Right.
bucket. So if you're around the wrong people, that's basically what's going to happen. They'll just keep on pulling you down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once
And
you get around the right people, that's when you start lifting each other up.
yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And because, you know, if you get around people who are making smart decisions, who are successfully finding the holy grail of trading, then those smart decisions start rubbing off on you. And you can also bounce your ideas and go, what's this? And I know with the Can Slim process that both of you and I use certain parts of that. We know that when we trade, we're trading great stocks. And you know, and I'll, you know, like I like to trade the ETFs also. But I know my stable of stocks and my stable of ETFs are thoroughbreds. And each one of them has the capability of winning the race. And that brings a whole lot of confidence to me and gives you a little bit of a clue on where the Holy Grail may actually reside. And it's not on a watch list. Anyway, so okay, Mr. Here we go, Mr. Holy Grail. Do we call you Holy or just Mr. Grail? Anyway, no. So why do traders jump from one new tool or indicator to another in their search for you?
Well, new tools promise innovation and success, but often distract from the fundamentals of good trading. The allure of the next big thing is a common pitfall for many traders.
Yeah. So how, you know, from a personal standpoint, Mike, I know I have to go in about once or twice a year and I clean my charts. I get all the indicators off and then I start rebuilding them. And I made part of my trading plan and my trading rules is I would not add a new indicator or something, you know, new under the sun. Reminds me of another story, but we won't go there for right now. But and I basically wrote a rule, said basically nothing goes on my chart unless something comes off. And the second half of that rule is nothing goes on my chart that will steal time away from me, resulting in me missing opportunities. Because oftentimes we add crap onto our charts and we miss because we're paying so much attention to the noise, we miss the setups and therefore miss the potential profits.
Yes,
So
yes,
what about you? I
absolutely.
mean, what about you?
Yeah, there's so much stuff that could distract us out there. It's one of the reasons why I think that part of the Holy Grail is focus,
Mm. Yeah.
right? And you'd mentioned that the Holy Grail, like it was this little humble cup, that not very shiny,
Yeah.
small. If it's small, there's focus.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
If you have
that's
this
great.
giant cup, there's not a whole lot of focus there, right? A lot of it's holding a lot. There's it's wide, but you have this little narrow cup that doesn't hold that much.
Yeah.
Wow, that I hadn't thought about that before, but that's another they're going to give us.
So I know, you know, what's really interesting, uh, you know, about kind of like this interview. I mean, you know, we kind of did it as to have some fun, which we are. We're having some good fun on it kind of stuff. But a lot of it is catching some of the rich content that's going on here, because there are some golden nuggets that are being dropped. And I hope that it basically just affects and improves everybody's trading that's out there. So, let's see. Oh, here's a big one. And is it ever okay to adjust a trading plan? And if so, how should a trader go about it? Because part of the issue with the Holy Grail is the person's always out there searching for the perfect plan. But what happens if you have a plan and do you change it? Or, there is a myth out there that says, once you've got a plan, you stick with it forever and do all that kind of stuff. So what's your thoughts on
I
that?
struggled with that one for a very, very long time. So I'm real curious to hear what the answer from the Holy Grail is. Okay, let's see here. Answer from the Holy Grail. Adjusting is necessary, but it should be based on careful analysis and not emotional reactions. Traders should regularly review performance data and make informed decisions while sticking to their core principles.
So it sounds like, well, okay.
So the door is open for evolution.
Okay.
Evolution at the proper time and in the proper way.
Gotcha. And so it's basically, sometimes there's a difficulty in distinguishing between necessary adjustments and impulsive changes. And I think I think one of the things that points that out, and just a real quick story on that, is I've run into people who basically try to change their charts for different entities rather than sticking with the basics of their chart. In other words, like I stick for the last, almost 20 years, I've utilized the 8-day, 20-day, and 34-day and 50-day EMAs, right? EMAs. And some people will take that and say, well, yeah, but for Tesla, I really need that to be the simple moving averages, not the EMAs. And so they do these kind of crazy tweaks that doesn't really improve their trading, but they think they're improving their trading because now they make their chart look supposedly perfect for Tesla, but for NVDA, it's not working for them. And so they find, I think they kind of like ricochet off these things very, very rapidly, trying to change things. And for me, I used to kind of try to do that. However, it drove me nuts. And finally I said, you know what? I'm going to learn how to evaluate and read the story of the chart I'm looking at with the existing indicators that I have. And once I learned that skill, my trading took off like a rocket ship. It was phenomenal. Cool.
Yeah, when I think of that, I think of, well, what are the rules of the game that you made for yourself, for your trading? So I just wrote a brand new book. I'll mention it here about the trading business plans.
Right.
It's not available yet. It's going to be available very soon. But within our trading business plan, we're going to write a set of rules for ourselves. What it is that we're going to do, what's our operating manual. And if our operating manual says that, okay, we're going to use an ADMA and we're going to use the other moving averages that you mentioned, then if we're switching that up mid-game, right, it would be like you're outside playing basketball and now all of a sudden we're going to allow tackling during the game because, well, why not?
Well, yeah. In a much younger age, I did play college football, and it kind of reminds me we did have full contact basketball.
Yeah, we had full contact basketball out with some of the kids that were over from the weekend. My daughter and a couple. We were for the game.
So, but now you're spot on. You're spot on. I think this comes into play at is the lack of rules result in additional impulsive and compulsive behavior. And so like one of my rules is I hold my trading. I either trade, there's 2 times I trade. I do my conditional orders on Sunday, and those are my fire and forget orders that go out and they're already set up with where I want to buy, where I want to sell for a stop loss, and where I want to sell for a profit. Those are all set in place. Then I will go into the market live, but only during the final hour of the day. I do not trade the first hour of the day for a lot of different reasons. One is I don't like getting up at 6:30 or 3:30 in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning in Hawaii to be able to trade the first hour of the day. But I like the final hour, and the reason why is because I also am really good at trading candlesticks. And by the end of the day, the last hour, the candlestick is almost complete. And that means its story for the day is almost complete. And now I have a better ability to, okay, I understand how this is going to finish. And it'll tell me whether I have a trade today or maybe I have a trade tomorrow. But the candlestick in the morning, the candlestick during the first, I would say, first half of the day may be telling you a story, but it may also be lying to you. And I've had so many people think they're looking at a hammer, and it turns out to be a bearish, a bearish type engulfing pattern by the end of the day. And so they make their trading decision during that first 15 minutes, and then spend the rest of the day going, ah! Anyway, cool. What about those emotional and psychological drivers behind searching for the trade, the Holy Grail? And we've got the emotional relief. Searching for the Holy Grail provides hope, emotional comfort. It makes us feel good because gives us a false feeling of feeling good, thinking we're doing something productive in trying to establish our trading process. Overconfidence and FOMO, market complexity, and other, and then emotions don't affect trading. And we know that is not a true statement. But digging in a little deeper, so let me ask the audience real quick, Mike, and I'll ask them this. What emotional challenges have you faced in your trading journey? How did you overcome them? You can answer that, or just say, if you are impacted by impulsive and compulsive trading, just put a Y in the chat box, and then we'll get back to our interview with the Holy Grail of Trading. So, Mr. Grail, how do trading gurus influence the search for you?
Well, gurus often claim to have secret strategies that guarantee success, which can mislead traders. It's important to approach such claims with skepticism and focus on developing your own tested strategies.
Right on.
Yeah, so you basically wrote a whole book on strategies that you've tested.
Yes. Yep. We wrote a book, Trade Your Way to Freedom, Retire Early with More Money and Less Fear. We wrote that, and that is out there on Amazon. It's also an ebook over on my website. But yeah, we talked specifically about that, and thanks for the lead in on that. And it is. I've noticed a difference between social media platforms. One is over on Instagram. it's primarily exceptionally young, inexperienced type of traders. Primarily, there's some great guys over there. I mean, don't who are great traders,
Mhm.
guys. So I'm not talking about, but I noticed that there's this Lamborghini guy type of influence.
Mm.
Who I'm making 1,000% on this last trade, and he shows him out by his rented, or just goes down to a Lamborghini dealer and sits next to a Lamborghini, and maybe he hires a hot model to be with him, or whatever, thinking that, oh man, this guy's got to have the secret to the Holy Grail. So I think there's an attraction there. But then you start moving over into X, where there's a lot of really great traders over there on X who basically are, we've interviewed several of them: Akil, Andrew, Patrick, Mike, and myself kind of hang out over there. Then there's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is another great place. And then YouTube is kind of a mix, is what I've found as far as gurus over there. There is some really good stuff, like my YouTube channel, Market Tech Talk. I put out really great, technical analysis every week. We host this podcast over there along with Mike. We have it over on Spotify. Mike hosts this podcast, and so we just have to watch out, because misleading advice can basically impact a potential trader and force them into that lone wolf. You mentioned lone wolves, Mike. Force them into
Mhm.
that kind of lone wolf, because they're thinking, I can't trust anybody out there,
Yeah.
and or they're hesitant to. They've tried. Let's say they've tried 2 or 3 different programs, and all of them failed, and then they say, I've quit, I'm walking away, I'm never going to trade again. So anyway,
Well, you could take that video that you showed earlier with all the different uh, grails,
yeah.
right? And the nice big shiny ones. What's that kind of remind you of? Maybe the
Instagram.
Lambo guys.
Yeah, the Lambo guys. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you need the nice, uh, simple, humble cup.
I love it. I love it. So let's see. Well, okay, here's a great one. Okay, Mr. Holy Grail. What role does what role does the fear of missing out play in the search for you?
Well, FOMO can drive impulsive decisions, leading traders to abandon their plans in favor of chasing what appears to be a more successful strategy. This
Mm.
often results in inconsistent performance.
Did you know that inconsistent performance or inconsistent trading, did you realize that that is the number one pain point of all traders? Inconsistent performance that result from, well, inconsistent planning and all that kind of stuff. If you agree with that, I know we've got a whole bunch of people online and all that kind of stuff. If you let me know down in the comments, yes or no, Y or N, is inconsistent performance your number one pain point for trading? Please leave us a note down there. Chat with
Uh,
Mike and I. We're let us know what's going on.
Well, Dennis, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What's your definition of consistent performance? And I guess, well, what's your definition of inconsistent performance? I'm assuming it would just be the opposite, but well, how would you define it?
Um, that's a great question. Inconsistent or consistent and inconsistent performance. I think for myself, I became a consistent trader when I made a commitment to myself to consistently apply my trading rules. In other words,
Mm.
this is what I am going to do. And I have a routine that is a consistent routine. It's like It's like working out.
Mhm.
I have a time frame at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 days a week. I go and I work out. I do my
Mhm.
runs, I do my sprints, and all that kind of stuff. And so that is my routine. When I get out, and that is what I've committed to do because I want to stay healthy, last a long time, and all that kind of stuff for both my wife, my family, my friends, my grandchildren, all that kind of stuff. So if I get out of sort and I miss one of my scheduled workout days, well, I feel crummy. Yeah, I mean, I'm like not terribly sick or anything like that, but I'll notice, and then what that opens up the door for is more inconsistency in applying my requirements of doing the workouts.
Mm.
So in the case of trading, let's say you've got great trading rules and you know that you're trading a system with an edge. You have a choice. Do you want to apply that consistently? Or do maybe you're going to apply it just on Tuesday and Thursday, but on Wednesday and Friday, you're going to do what you want to do with your trading. Well, guess what? Your results are going to be inconsistent and you're going to be confused. Consistency, you mentioned the word earlier. Consistency and focus, I think, go together very strongly. I mean, they're like connected at the hip kind of thing.
Mhm.
And maybe throw in discipline on top of that because you need discipline to be focused, then to be consistent. But it goes the same. Consistency is due to focus and being disciplined
Mm.
and joins together. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it.
Oh, that's such a great answer, and I think that uh, people go astray, and I know this well because I went down this path of thinking that being consistent is meaning, well, I'm going to have a certain percentage return every single month and be able
Yeah.
to take a X amount of dollars out of the market every almost like a paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's not the kind of consistency it sounds like that your version of consistency actually leads to a higher equity curve because you're focused on consistently doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. It comes back to focusing on the process rather than focusing on the outcome. Because I
That's so
know
good.
my process it has a great edge. I know what my batting average is and all that kind of stuff. So I'm constantly able to measure how well am I doing. Now, I take my batting out, look at, how well did I do today? Do I take that and compare it to my long-term batting average? Heavens no, I don't. However, I do at the end of the month. How did I
Mhm.
do this month? What did I do well this month? What needs to be improved this month? Did I go off the reservation, if you will, and venture down the path of inconsistency? I think in the book of Proverbs it talks about the folly of their wisdom is something to be sought after, but then the foolishness or the folly of not following wisdom is, I think, to become inconsistent. That's heavy. I mean, that's
Mm,
good. That's really good stuff. Huh?
there's a lot to chew on this episode.
And so, okay, let's see.
W Yeah, what's
How
next?
how we doing here? I want to make sure. I definitely want to get down to. Okay, I am going to. We talked about adjusting your trading plan. With when to adjust a trading plan. And so I'm going to, yeah, here's where I'm going to jump to. I am going to highlight. You can see where I'm highlighting, Mike. If you'll want to jump to there, okay?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, because I do want to remember, because at the end of this, we're going to explain where the Holy Grail actually can be found, the real Holy Grail. So Mr. Holy Grail. So the promise of improved performance from new tools can be very appealing. However, tools are only as good as the strategies and discipline of the trader using them.
Yeah, that
Oh,
sounds
that's the
excellent.
answer.
That is the
que-
answer, and it's a great answer. And
yeah.
the reason why it's such a great answer is because it points to how two different people could be handed the same strategy. One will make a fortune, the other one will be panhandling on the street.
Yes. Yes. You know, the thing about it, you know, and it also goes to, you know, that thing about panhandling on the street is it talks to it talks to the issue of sometimes people have handicaps, if you will. I mean, you know, in golf you have a handicap that basically, but also people can have handicaps due to, you know, learning abilities and all this type of thing. But the fact of the matter is, or maybe it's a physical handicap, but the fact of the matter is that those can be overcome depending on what the person thinks.
Mhm.
What the person, you know, I've heard stories of people, I mean, even Napoleon Hill's, his son was deaf, had no ears, had no channel in his, you know, in his, you know, the parts of his ears that would cause hearing were gone, and just
Hmm.
he was born without them.
Oh
But
wow, I had no idea.
he went in and he says, "I am not going to accept that my son will never hear or speak." And he learned a way of letting his son feel the vibration of his voice. And
Really?
suddenly the kid started talking, right? And he would not let him go into a special class at school. They put him into the regular classes. And about the age of about 10 or so, he found or they found a uh, no, yeah, I think maybe he was actually in college by this time. The kid was in college. He couldn't hear except when people would really yell really loud. Uh, but he learned this technique of being able to hear from the vibration. And somebody came up with a hearing aid that picked up on these vibration. And so for the first time ever, the kid tried on the hearing aid and he could hear, right? So Napoleon Hill kind of went, you know, praise God, I wouldn't give up on my son. And his son went from there to become an executive with this company that had, and also a spokesman for teaching deaf, you know, kids how to hear and then how to talk. And I tell you a story primarily because other people may have been suffering from the same ailment. However, if they didn't have the right people around them and also have an exceptionally burning desire to hear, because the doctors told Napoleon Hill says, we don't know how he can hear. We don't know how he can hear because he doesn't have the equipment on the side of his head or inside of his head that, you know, like an ear canal. And because he doesn't have any of that, but we know he hears because he talks back to us. Um, some people would have basically just said, "Oh well, this is my lot in life. I, you know, what else can I do?" And they would become a ward of the state. They would be, you know, this kind of stuff. But this kid became a productive person of society and contributed back to so many other people and got them up on the step where they could move forward. And that's a lot of the way I think it is with our trading
Mhm.
is we can let the false holy grail guide us down the rabbit hole, you know, guide us down the rabbit hole, guide us down to thinking all these glittery objects like tools for your charts and this and that and the other is where the answer is, but the answer doesn't lie there. And so, can can you explain, Mr. Holy Grail, what the role of overconfidence is in the search for you?
Overconfidence. Overconfident traders believe they can outsmart the market and find the perfect strategy. This
Hmm.
can lead to risky decisions and abandonment of proven methods. Yeah, I know I've fallen into that trap before.
Yeah. And so that kind of guides into the next. So have I. I mean, just excessive risk taking, betting too big, get even type of trading, revenge trading. And then what about why do many traders fail to stick with their plan?
It's emotional reactions. Emotional reactions to short term losses or the allure of new strategies often cause traders to deviate from their plans.
Okay.
Discipline and patience are essential to sticking with a plan through the ups and the downs.
So, so do emotions make traders dumber?
Emotions unexamined make traders dumber.
What does that mean?
That means that we should understand the underlying beliefs that are driving those emotions. If
Hmm.
we're fearless, why are we fearless? Is it because we have a strong plan that we're following that we've tested, or is it because we're clueless? We're unconsciously incompetent, right? To take it back
Yeah.
to that interview that we did with Akil,
Yeah. 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 It's kind of
right?
like,
Well, where are we on that spectrum? That'll tell us a lot about our emotions.
yeah, it's kind of like that aspect of if a person is emotionally inclined, there's nothing wrong with emotions, understanding them. But part of the thing, and I think you said it many sessions ago, Mikey, when you talked about talk to your fear, talk to what scares you, and then you can start building up a. Then you find out that oftentimes that fear isn't real, and you just blow it off. Say, hey, you're not real. Yeah, and that kind of stuff. But you say, talk to your fear. And I think that it is important to basically speak out. And I even encourage, folks who trade with us to speak out their trade. Literally read it out loud what this trade is going to do and what your expectations of it are going to be. And you'll be amazed at what can transpire from that. So,
Absolutely.
um, here's a biggie. I think it's a biggie. Is that basically why do some traders continue searching for a perfect strategy even after achieving consistent profits and success? This is a heavy one from the aspect of I've had a lot of people. Go ahead. So, what's your answer?
So why do some traders continue searching for a perfect strategy even after achieving consistent profits? Well, the desire for even better results and the
Hmm.
fear of future losses can drive traders to keep on searching. It's important to recognize when a strategy is working and not let greed push you into unnecessary changes.
So it's a greed deal. It's a greed issue.
It's a greed issue.
Hmm.
And, you know, I would even say that it's more than a greed issue, that I'd say that there's also a little bit of pinch of pride sprinkled in there.
Ah.
Because I've never thought of myself as a greedy person, but I know that I've fallen into this trap.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things I think it is involved with is greed, but also ego. Now, they kind of go together. Ego and
Hmm.
think, especially if the the winning system is very clear and simple. They miss the sophistication of simplicity. And they
Yeah.
think they deserve, oh, I'm so brilliant. I deserve a much more complex strategy or complex system. And it's the old adage, they're kind of like stooping over to pick up nickels and letting $10 bills go by, and just type of situation. I don't know what a good analogy for that is. If anybody knows a good analogy, please drop it in the comments. Or Mike, what do you think about that? I mean, just the ego of, oh no, I can't trade that simple system because I deserve so much more. And also, the more sophisticated the system, the higher the potential of winning. But oh gosh, that is a complete myth that we could blow up over in some of the future weeks.
Well, I could go from the opposite perspective of not thinking that I'm worth enough.
Ooh, yeah.
And for that reason, well, I can't trade this because I'm not smart enough to trade can slim and follow all these different rules. So I need to make this kind of adjustment, that kind of adjustment, make adjustments to all these different systems, add things on top. And because I'm trying to find or because I don't have enough faith in me, I'm going to make something that's so complex that I could almost and in a subconscious way place blame on the overcomplications of the market. Meanwhile, I've just basically self-sabotaged.
Wow.
So it's almost like looking for an excuse because I don't believe that I'm worthy of this. This has been a very therapeutic episode.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm sitting there going, So, hey, so can you explain? I'm there now. Can you explain how cognitive biases affect traders' search for the Holy Grail?
Oh, sure. So cognitive biases like recency bias and confirmation bias lead traders to focus on short-term successes or failures, reinforcing the belief that a perfect strategy is just one adjustment away.
Wow. I agree with you wholeheartedly. This has been very therapeutic because, man, it's been hitting a lot of my, things that I've settled out. I don't have these issues anymore. But oh man, I can relate with so many of these because, 15 years ago, a lot of these would be pushing my buttons. I mean, I'd be sitting there going, and all that kind of stuff. And so if any of you are feeling like your buttons are being pushed today, reach out to both Mike and I, and, through Mara Wealth or AutoPilot Trading, we basically are there with a community that helps traders, one, trade profitably, clear and simple approach to trading success, and we've got a really great. Both of us have a great Discord community where traders help other traders. So if you want to know more information, reach out and let us know. Leave a comment either over on Spotify or in the YouTube channel, and just let us know. That's really good. That cognitive biases, they can distort a trader's perception and decision-making process. And overcoming these biases requires awareness, education, then applied education, and learning how to be a disciplined thinker. A disciplined thinker. That's a big one, Mike. What are a couple of things people can do to become a disciplined thinker? I really like that term.
Disciplined thinker. Oh man, what could they do to become a disciplined thinker? Some of the things that I've done, because I consider myself a disciplined thinker, and I can, of course, there's always room for improvement, and that's not fake humility. That's true humility. I'm constantly trying to learn and improve myself, but the part of what's helped me to be a disciplined thinker is the journaling process.
Oh, wow.
The journaling process,
Right on.
journaling every day. So writing down thoughts, it allows me to be able to get the thought out of my head, put it into the real world, and in that way, I'm able to act as a third-party observer to the thought, because it's not just swimming around up here. I'm able to look at it and then come back later on and say, do I still agree with this? Yes or no? And if not, what would I change here?
So yeah, I find journaling and writing things down to be almost like a magic potion. I mean, I you know, and that's, I know that sounds a little mystical and all that kind of stuff, but I think there's a when it comes from here and from here, and then goes through this onto this or your journal, it basically just reinforces stuff and so much that, like I said, it helps, etch those paths in our mind to basically be more successful. So that's awesome. And so, okay, Mr. This is the one we were waiting for. So, okay, Mr. Holy Grail, what final advice would you give to traders who are searching for you?
The final piece of advice that I would give traders who are searching for the Holy Grail: focus on building a solid foundation of knowledge. Develop a well thought out trading plan. Practice disciplined execution. Continuous learning and adaptation rather than searching for perfection. Those are the keys to long-term success. What diligent traders will find is that the Holy Grail of trading isn't out there, but it's inside of them.
Well, there you go. And I agree. Sometimes the searching for, externally searching, searching out there is basically, when the search is out there, you hit on it a little bit earlier, Mike, is that if it's out there, it gives somebody something to blame. Whereas if you recognize, I have to improve myself and become a master trader. And once you start on that path of making a decision, not you move from want to be to will be. I will become a master trader. And as soon as I think when a person makes that decision, the Holy Grail takes a firm grip inside of them, and then they start moving from there. So, what do you think, man? Wow,
I think that this was a real deep episode. I think that, we can't hope to change anyone other than ourselves.
Right on.
When we change ourselves for the better, we can inspire others through our actions, but it's still on them to change.
Right on.
So the best way for us to improve as traders, as people within a society, is self-improvement.
Yeah, I agree. So, and so, guys, if you're out there, thanks all of you for joining us. And again, reach out to both Mike and I if you're looking for more guidance. We are good guides, and we've helping a lot of people out there avoid the pitfalls of looking for the false Holy Grail. And so with that, I'm going to basically say aloha and God bless. And if you know anybody who should be on the Trading Truths podcast with us, make a suggestion to us, and also let them know. Maybe it's somebody you listen to currently, And we do have somebody coming up here in August. Who's coming up in August, Mike?
Yeah, Adam Sarhan is
All
going to
right.
be on the show in either, is it next week or is it the week after? Need to double check that, but Adam Sarhan will be on the show. Longtime friend, wrote a trading psychology book, and is a very knowledgeable, fantastic, great guy.
Yep.
Looking forward to speaking with Adam.
I am looking forward to that. And then, as I said, folks, just let us know. We'll reach out and we'll contact folks, but let us know who you want to talk to. So, again, aloha, God bless. And Mike, it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely, Dennis.
And
Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.